In the years of his childhood in the kingdom of Doriath, Turin was watched over by Melian, though he saw her seldom. But there was a maiden named Nellas who lived in the woods, and at Melian's bidding she would follow Turin if he strayed in the forest, and often she met him there, as it were by chance. Then they played together, or walked hand in hand, for he grew swiftly, whereas she seemed no more than a maiden of his own age, and was so in heart, for all of her elven years. From Nellas, Turin learned much concerning the ways of the wild things of Doriath, and she taught him to speak the Sindarin tongue after the manner of the ancient realm, older and more courteous and richer in beautiful words. Thus, for a little while his mood was lightened, until he fell again under shadow, and that friendship passed like a morning of spring. Hey there, Tolkieneers. I'm Danny J.
And I'm Joel N.
I'm Trevor D.
And together we are...
Keep on Tolkien.
That was way too much energy for as sad as this story is.
Yeah, we're a little too excited for this good and sad one.
Oh yeah, we love it though.
Bringing the tragedy.
Yeah. So we will be continuing our 100th episode celebration, guys.
Woohoo! Yeah,
Woohoo.
We're 6 episodes into our 100th episode.
Yeah.
Episode 100, part 6.
If the series you never asked for but you always wanted, you just never knew it. Here it is, part 6. This is where we're going back and redoing the Chief Tales of the Elder Days, which we covered in season 1 forever ago. But what did we not know how to do back then?
Anything?
Anything at all.
Anything at all.
That is the correct answer.
The correct answer is anything at all. We were novices.
We all start somewhere.
Yes. So yeah, today we're continuing through the second of those 3 tales that we're redoing, like George Lucas did with the Star Wars movies.
Yeah,
right?
or like Tolkien. He revised his work
He
over
revised
time.
his stuff. Sure,
Yeah,
We're
true,
allowed to.
true.
Sure.
Yeah, we can do
are.
that too. But yes, like we said, the second tale in this series is the tale of the Children of Húrin.
Woo! Children of Húrin.
And this is part 2 of the tale. Over the last episode prior to this, we did a lot of prologue, more or less. Like
Right. That was basically that was Turin's childhood prologue. This will be Turin's adolescence to early manhood this episode. And we're just going to keep trudging through Turin's life, tragedy after tragedy from here on out. But if you haven't listened to the first part of our series, we did the Tale of Beren and Luthien, which we covered the crap out of that.
Oh yeah, we split that into
Was that 4?
4 episodes
4.
for that tale.
Yeah.
Lot to digest, but it was not just the story. Like, we went back and we talked about some of its origins and
Just friggin' everything, man.
friggin' everything.
How it changed over time.
Yeah. If you want to know anything about the Tale of Beren and Luthien, check that shit out. But we're going to keep trudging through the Children of Húrin here. So let's get right into it. Where did we leave off in this epic tale of sadness? We basically just covered the prologue in the last episode. Goddamn, there's so much.
Yeah, there's a lot of information to get across just to set up this tale.
Yes. So in that episode, we covered Turin's birth to Húrin and Morwen. He also had a little sister, Urwin, who died of a plague. And he almost died of a plague, too. He got real sick and almost died.
Yeah, and his mom wasn't real nice to him about any of it afterwards either.
Yes. There's a lot of that going around in his story.
There will be more.
And more today.
And then at the end of the episode, Húrin had just been captured after the Nirnaethar Nordiad, and Morgoth was holding him and laid a curse on him and all of his kin. And a bunch of horrible things are now about to happen to his family. And the worst part of all of this is that Morgoth also curses Húrin himself and basically curses him and forces him to have to watch all of these terrible events that are about to unfold and happen to his family.
Right, it's a twofold curse. It's I curse all your kin, and you get to watch. That's the second curse. And we kind of ran out of time in the last episode to have an excerpt, so we're going to put it here about this double curse happening.
This is an intense curse. This is epic.
Yes, this is from the Children of Húrin. The words of Húrin and Morgoth. Here we go, Trevor.
Taking Húrin back to Angband, he he set him in a chair of stone upon a high place of Thangaradrim, from which he could see afar the land of Hithlum in the west, and the lands of Beleriand in the south. There he was bound by the power of Morgoth, standing beside him, cursed him again, and set his power upon him, so that he could not move from that place, nor die, until Morgoth should release him. "Sit now there," said Morgoth, "and look out upon the lands where evil and despair shall become upon those whom you have delivered to me. For you have dared to mock me, and have questioned the power of Melkor, master of the fates of Arda. Therefore with my eyes you shall see, and with my ears you shall hear, and nothing shall be hidden from you."
And that's the catch, right? Nothing shall be hidden from you. And so imagine all the things you're about to hear for the next few episodes, guys. Imagine that happening to your children and you having to watch through supernatural means.
Yeah.
So you're getting to see all of it from afar.
You know, in a lot of religions they say God is watching you all the time.
Yeah, that was my religion as well. Yeah, they used to God could see us touching ourselves. They told us that.
It's tragic for Húrin. Maybe it's tragic for God?
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know.
He sees you when you're sleeping.
He knows when you're awake. Also, Hithlum, the homeland of the great House of Hador, our heroes, it's under occupation by Easterlings, right?
Yeah, the Easterlings basically were gifted this by Morgoth
For their treachery.
after their aid in the Near Nathar Nordiad.
Yeah, dicks.
But tragically, none of the men of Hador ever returned after the Near Nath.
Yeah.
And now Morwen, she's got to decide what to do for her family.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
That's pretty much where we are.
Yeah, all the men of the country are gone, and the country has been occupied.
Occupado. Yeah. So, the story of Turin Turambar begins. Seriously this time, guys.
Yeah, for real. Now we're really going to get into start getting into things.
So, back home in Dorloman, things are not going well. And to further complicate things, Morwen is pregnant.
Oh, boy.
And like Trevor said, she now has to decide what to do with her limited resources now that Hithlum is under occupation by dirty Easterlings.
Yeah, and I mean, these Easterlings have totally sacked Dorloman. They stole everything that they could. They enslaved everybody, except for Morwen, because they're straight up afraid of her. And
yes, they are.
Yeah, the hesitancy that they have gives her some precious time to act to save Turin.
Yeah, and we got an excerpt from Chapter 4 of the Children of Húrin, The Departure of Turin. It's going to be read by Joel about this here.
Morin Eledwen remained in Hithlum silent in grief. Her son Turin was only in his 9th year, and she was again with child. Her days were evil. The Easterlings came into the land in great numbers, and they dealt cruelly with the people of Hador, and robbed them of all they possessed and enslaved them. All the people of Húrin's homelands that could work or serve any purpose, they took away, even young girls and boys, and the old they killed or drove out to starve. But they dared not yet lay hands on the lady of Dorloman, or thrust her from her home, for the word ran among them that she had dealings with the White Fiends, for so they named the elves, hating them, but fearing them more.
I got to be honest with you guys. I really think it sucks that the last thing Húrin did before possibly leaving his homeland forever was to knock up his wife. What the fuck, dude?
Yeah, he knew he was going. He knew he was leaving for war. That was kind of not a wise or considerate move.
Like, yeah, his pullout game is trash, dude.
I mean, it's pretty selfish, really. I mean, if you're gonna knock someone up, I mean, I guess okay, you have something more to come home to, so like maybe you'll fight a little harder or something. But it's very selfish.
So selfish. Oh my god. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, the Easterlings, like in the excerpt, they leave Morwen's house alone. Things totally fall on hard times because occupation sucks, right?
And Morwen is often bailed out by Húrin's kinswoman named Erin.
Erin, yeah.
She was able to give her some of her resources because the Easterling chieftain Broda took her to wife, like, forcefully.
Yeah. Morwen, she's pretty proud, but she still accepts the help only because her children need it. she would have to be a pretty awful mom, in my opinion, if you wouldn't do this.
Right.
There are some people like this in America that, like, I ain't never been on welfare type of people. And it's like, why didn't you, so you let your
You had
children,
resources?
you had
And you
means
just
to help,
chose.
and you just chose not to? Cool. That's nice of you. I hope you kept your pride intact while your children were hungry.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with food stamps, and I was actually forced to be the one to use the card because of pride.
Yeah,
right?
same. Yeah, my grandma used to do the same with the EBS card, right? Yeah, she'd send you in to do it. Yeah, because, they were taught to be ashamed of that sort of stuff. It's so fucking weird. Americans are weird, you guys. I know a lot of you aren't from America, but we are, unfortunately.
Well, we've got an excerpt here about this part of the tale. This comes from Chapter 4 of the Children of Húrin book, The Departure of Turin. And this is read by Mr. Trevor.
There still remained under Morwen's shelter Sador, the woodwright, and a few old men and women, and Turin, whom she kept close within the garth. But the homestead of Húrin soon fell into decay, and though Morwen labored hard, she was poor, and would have gone hungry but for the help that was sent to her secretly by Erin, Húrin's kinswoman. For a certain Broda, one of the Easterlings, had taken her by force to be his wife. Alms were bitter to Morwen, but she took this aid for the sake of Turin and her unborn child, and because, as she said, it came of her own. For it was this Broda who had seized the people, the goods, and the cattle of Húrin's homelands, and carried them off into his own dwellings.
So now let's talk a little bit about the decisions of Morwen.
Right. The choices of Mistress Morwen, like Master Samwise,
So as the days go on, Morwen begins to formulate a plan. She tries to keep Turin in the dark about most of the terrible things happening around him, but Turin's too smart. He's a smart kid.
Yeah.
And one day he finally asks his mother about what the future of Dorlomin looks like. And once again, Morwen is cold, but honest and forthcoming with Turin. We have an excerpt here from The Children of Húrin, Chapter 4, The Departure of Turin, read by Danny.
When the Easterlings first came into Dorlomin, he said to his mother, "When will father come back to cast out these ugly thieves? Why does he not come?" Morwen answered, "I do not know. It may be that he was slain, or that he is held captive. Or again it may be that he was driven far away, and cannot yet return through the foes that surround us." "Then I think that he is dead," said Turin, and before his mother he restrained his tears, for no one could keep him from coming back to help us if he were alive. "I do not think that either of those things are true, my son," said Morwen.
Damn, no comfort at all.
Yeah, Morwen, like, that's the thing.
He's afraid to even let his mom see him cry.
Yeah, it's that, and it's like the last person on earth you should be able,
Emotionally closed off to, yeah.
Right, and like that's the thing. Like she won't lie to him ever. She's cold. Her delivery is cold, but she is totally honest and forthright with him, right? Which is good, I guess. But there's just no emotional comfort there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you really don't, like, he really doesn't have his regular family system to, like, hold him together.
No, yeah, Turin has very much a family of untraditional background. Like he does have, we'll get more into that, but he does have parent figures in his life. He does have sibling-like figures in his life, and he doesn't get what he needs from his mother, but he does get it from other people.
Yeah, it seems especially weird to me because like he's like highborn, right? So
Right.
you'd think there would be more people around for him, but
A lot of people died in the Nearnath, though.
Yeah.
Like all of the men.
even before like the Nearnath, right?
That's
like we
true.
discussed in the last episode, he pretty much only had Sador in the beginning.
Yeah, even though he was, that is
Very
true.
true.
Very true, Trev. Morwen ultimately decides to send Turin to Doriath, though she will not go herself.
Yeah, she's just too proud, like to be a refugee or just to have any kind of poverty, really.
Right, well, because she is a refugee twice over now, because like she's House of Bayor, right? And their shit was leveled in what was that, the Bragalach, right? I believe. Yeah, so they've been turned out from Dorthonion for a long time, and then she comes to live in Hithlum as a refugee, and she's now thrust from Hithlum. That's how she feels, at least.
Not again.
Not again. We got a little tiny one here from the Children of Húrin, Chapter 4, Departure of Turin, read by Joel.
Moreover, though she was willing that her son should be fostered in the halls of another, after the manner of that time, she would not yet humble her pride to be an alms guest, not even of a king.
Yeah, even other basically royalty, like,
Come on, man.
how does this help each other out, man?
Come on. Like, really?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't even think, like, Húrin is subservient to elven kings,
Right.
like, every day. Like, why would you not be, it's just so fucking weird. I don't know.
He has some ties to Baron, right?
Yes, she is a kinsman of Baron as well. Morwen is.
Morwen, his
So
mother.
Turin is related to Baron through Morwen.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane that she would send him off knowing that, hey, the king will probably take him, and, like, he'll take you too.
Yes.
Yeah, you're more kin with Baron than
you're
he
closer.
is. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
exactly. You're
Jesus
closer
Christ.
kin. Yeah, it's very strange. Morwen is an interesting character. Definitely, I feel differently about Morwen now that I have children, and it's weird reading this story again now that
Yeah, a new perspective
Yeah.
as an adult.
How
Yeah.
not to parent.
Right.
Right. Well, because like I was, it was funny. This came up in therapy today. This the episode that I've been working on, and I was telling her that like the children I have trouble with. I have trouble like making sure they brush their hair and stuff like that, but I don't have trouble being there emotionally. That stuff's super easy, and I don't get why anyone has a problem with it, in my opinion. But it's the other stuff that people find easy that I find hard. It's
Yeah.
fun. But yes,
You can't braid hair yet?
I can't braid hair yet. Yeah, and I got yelled at for it this morning
No way.
by my stepdaughter. Yeah, she was freaking out. Oh my god. Oh yes.
Well,
But
back to Turin.
back to Turin. Yes.
Yeah,
Speaking
so-
of family, let's back to Turin.
So yeah, he's going to Doriath by
And his mom's not coming.
and his mom's not coming. She's
Mhm.
she's not gonna. So it was first age 472 that autumn came. Well, of course, autumn comes every year, But in Hithlum in particular, autumn is here, and Morwen couldn't wait any longer. So
Autumn comes every year.
yeah.
Who's Autumn?
Oh my god,
Oh yeah, sorry.
it wouldn't work with as many seasons as that. Anyway.
I know. Couldn't help it.
So yeah, so she's gonna send Turin away to Doriath in hopes that Thingol's gonna foster him, and Turin's pretty mad about this.
Naturally. I mean, I wouldn't want to be forced away from my only home to go to some elven kingdom that I don't know anything about.
Yeah, who's he knows it? What's it? Far away? Yeah, nobody wants.
Time for a new daddy.
Yeah.
But, of course, Morwen responds coldly yet again, and she says that he will not be going alone, even though she's not the one coming with him.
Right.
She's going to send her aged servants Gethron and Grithnir.
Right. Yeah, these homies will be coming with you. Turin asks her to send his best friend Sador, but she won't allow it because Sador is disabled and the journey will be too hard for him.
Oh, yeah, he has a bad foot or something?
Right. He's he has a axe wound on his foot.
Oof.
Yeah.
Strap a wheel to his ankle, he'll be fine.
Yeah, dude.
Like
Get a
what
rollerblade.
they do with, like, dogs.
Like dogs when they're injured. Yeah. Morwen, she uses strong verbiage with her son, as she always does. And keep in mind though that this kid is only 9.
It's so young
It's insane.
for dealing with any of this.
It's so,
Insanely
yeah,
young.
to have to deal with, like, the loss of your father and war times and
Right.
occupation and...
And this shit hits super hard for me, this scene, because Timmy, my stepson, is 9.
Oh,
So-
yeah, you're right.
I couldn't imagine having to lay something on him like this and then being so fucking cold about it on top of that. Like, yeah, we'll get into this whole Turin's exchange with Morwen here. We got an excerpt right now from the Children of Húrin, Chapter 4, The Departure of Turin, read by Trevor.
And since you are my son and the days are grim, I will not speak softly. You may die on that road. The year is getting late, but if you stay, you will come to a worse end, to be a thrall. If you wish to be a man, when you come to a man's age, you will do as I bid, bravely. But I shall leave you with only Sador, and blind Ragnir, and the old women, said Turin. Did not my father say that I am the heir of Hador? The heir should stay in Hador's house to defend it. Now, I wish that I still had my knife. The heir should stay, but he cannot, said Morwen. But he may return one day. Now take heart. I will follow you, if things grow worse. If I can. But how will you find me? Lost in the wild, said Turin, and suddenly his heart failed him, and he wept openly. If you wail, other things will find you first, said Morwen. But I know whither you are going, and if you come there, and if you remain there, there I will find you, if I can. For I am sending you to King Thingol in Doriath. Would you rather be a king's guest than a thrall? I do not know, said Turin. I do not know what a thrall is. I am sending you away so that you need not learn it, Morwen answered. Then she set Turin before her and looked into his eyes, as if there were some riddle there. It is hard, Turin, my son, she said at length. Not hard for you only. It is heavy on me in evil days to judge what is best to do, but I do as I think right. For why else should I part with the thing most dear that is left to me? They spoke no more of this together, and Turin was grieved and bewildered.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. Okay, two things about this quote I want to talk about. Morwen, if you wail, other things will find you first.
Really?
To say that to a crying 9-year-old,
let alone your own child,
let alone your own son, whom you are about to maybe never see again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, Morwen. And then also, what was the other one here? That when she said, it says, then she set Turin before her and looked into his eyes as if there were some riddle there.
Like, she's clearly...
She's trying to understand her son's emotions.
Right.
And she's coming up with nothing.
Not registering.
Yeah.
Does not compute.
Yeah.
Does she have emotions? Is she a psychopath?
I don't know if she's a psychopath. So the thing about this story is one of the motifs of the story is how people react to grief. And this is how she has reacted to grief thus far. She's become cold. She's become unconcerned. And she's continued to be honest, frank, and proud the whole time, right?
Guess you got to hold on to some of your values.
Yeah, because Morwen is a sad character. She's a refugee, right? Like, her shit is sad.
Should have hired a nanny instead.
Yeah. Honestly, dude. So the next day after this conversation, obviously feeling unfulfilled, Turin seeks out Sador, his buddy. And they have yet another sad-ass conversation.
Yeah, Sador is looking for scraps of wood to burn because it's getting cold out, and it's too dangerous for any of them to go into the woods for firewood. And there is a large wooden chair that he's been making for Húrin sitting in the corner of his workshop. And he sadly decides that he needs to burn that chair.
Yeah, Turin, he begs him, please, to not break the chair, because he says that his father, Húrin, will be super pleased that he sees that you've been keeping up the good work while he's gone, right? And this is just kind of like the last straw for Turin. Like, he can't...
right, he can't handle all this.
Yeah, he can't handle also, like... Because this is Sador basically admitting that he doesn't think Húrin's ever coming back.
Exactly,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah, and as Sador has in the past, he's got some wise and practical words for Turin, that sort of parent Turin is missing. And
I love this. I had to have this.
And he says to him, false hopes are more dangerous than fears, and they will not keep us warm this winter.
Ooh, but this fucking chair will when I burn it.
But this chair.
Exactly. Practical advice.
I like Sador.
Sador's one of the best characters in the book. Yeah, he's fucking awesome. This is why, if you've never read the Children of Húrin novel, but you have read the Silmarillion version of the tale, check out the novel because, like, there's a lot more Sador in it. And Sador's fucking cool. So...
Hell yeah.
And Sador, then he tries to give the knife that Turin had given to him back to him. And like Turin's not having it. He breaks down. He tells Sador that his mom is trying to send him away to Doriath, and of course Sador is not surprised at all.
No, he knows Morwen, that angry bitch.
Yeah. And so then he tells Turin, like, don't reveal Morwen's plans, like, even to him. He doesn't need to know, and this upsets him even more. We've got a bit of an excerpt here read by Danny from Children of Húrin, Chapter 4, The Departure of Turin.
But I must speak with someone, said Turin. I have always told things to you. I do not want to leave you, Labadal. I do not want to leave this house, or my mother. But if you do not, said Sador, soon there will be an end to the house of Hador forever, as you must understand now. Labadal does not want you to go, but Sador, servant of Húrin, will be happier when Húrin's son is out of the reach of the Easterlings. Well, well, it cannot be helped. We must say farewell. Yeah.
Sad shit.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, super sad. Turin, and then he just Sador doesn't know. Like, it's funny because he's comforting Turin, but he doesn't feel like he is. So he's like, I want to give him his knife back. I want to make him feel better.
Yeah, here you go, bud.
Here you go, buddy.
Here's that special knife that, your dad.
Yeah, a little bit of comfort, right? But Turin again refuses, and he breaks down even harder into tears this time. And Sador comforts Turin and reminds him to be brave, and he uses Turin's own words, which he says earlier in the story. And he says, I shall go as a soldier with an elf king as soon as I am able.
Damn, that's actually a little foreboding.
Yeah, I guess you will. And then Turin does one of the most 9-year-old things ever. And this shit reminds me of Timmy so hard. We got a quote here from Children of Húrin, chapter 4, The Departure of Húrin. Joel's going to read it for us.
Then Turin stayed his tears, and he said, Very well. If those were the words of the son of Húrin, he must keep them and go. But whenever I say that I will do this or that, it looks very different when the time comes. Now I'm unwilling. I must take care not to say such things again. It would be best indeed, said Sador. So most men teach, and few men learn. Let the unseen days be. Today is more than enough.
I love that line, so Tolkien. Let the unseen days be. Today is more than enough. Love that.
Yeah, don't think too hard about the future, right?
Right. Today's a hell of a thing to worry about, right? And that's what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Turin departs from Dor-lómin in secret shortly after this. Super sad. The text goes out of its way to say this is the first sorrow of Turin. And I thought originally, like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean this is not the first? He's no stranger to sadness.
Yeah, there's already stuff that's happened.
But you were saying, as we were reviewing this, Trev, that you think it might be the first sad thing that happened as a direct result of the curse.
Yeah. Maybe the first thing, the first truly tragic thing that Húrin is witnessing. Right.
Or that the curse is responsible for you. It seems like a lot of the stuff at this point may have just been a result of, bad times, war
just
times,
life.
occupation,
which
was also Morgoth's fault, but
which made me think like how shitty his life was, that it was that shitty before it was cursed.
Right, yeah.
And now it's cursed, and it's going to be even worse.
Oh my god.
Yes. But this leads us to our next segment. And we introduced this in our last. This is a Children of Húrin series mainstay, and that's of course Deep Sea Facts with Joe Vasky.
Yes, our palate cleansing segment.
Our palate cleansing segment for when we're feeling a little bit down in the dumps because of the storyline, right? So whenever I find myself suffering from existential dread and sadness, I go to YouTube, of course. And I often turn to watching videos about the deep sea to calm myself down. I have no idea why. It's just I'm there every time. Since the Children of Húrin is a little bit of a downer, we're going to try to keep it light with a new palate cleansing segment about deep sea facts.
So yeah, every now and then, when the story is depressing, Joe's going to come in with one of these facts. And, of course, Joe's a friend of the show. He's contributed, a lot over the years. So we thought we'd bring a little Joe Vasky to our 100th episode specials.
Roll Deep Sea Fact number 1.
Yeah.
This is Deep Sea Facts with Joe Vasky. I'm Joe Vasky. The humpback whale has an enormous tongue that can weigh up to 4 tons. That's the equivalent to probably a few elephants and at least a couple school buses. There are also several accounts of humans being swallowed by humpback whales. In 2020, Julie McSorley was swallowed by a humpback whale while kayaking in California's San Luis Obispo's Bay with her friend Liz Cotriel. McSorley didn't realize she had been in the whale's mouth for a day until she watched videos of the incident. Her friend Liz had this to say, "Julie didn't want to. She's afraid of sharks and water. I told her the kayaks are so stable. They'll never dump over. You'll be safe." This was Deep Sea Facts with Joe Vasky.
Wow. That was really uplifting, Joe. Thanks for that. I think that made me feel a lot better.
How interesting. I didn't know that.
Interesting and palate cleansing.
Yeah, it was like a nice, refreshing glass of ice water.
Right.
I feel so much better.
Right.
So let's jump back into the sadness. Good and sad.
Good and sad. Here we go. Let's talk a little bit about. There's not much to say about her at this moment, but Nienor, she starts to become a thing right now.
Yeah, this is another very tragic character. The story is called The Children of Húrin. Well, here is one of
the other child.
Here's Húrin's other child,
Yeah.
Nienor. So the year after Turin departs from Dorloman, Morwen finally gives birth to that child, and this baby is a little girl, and they name her Nienor, which is Quenya for morning, which is...
Morning, not like morning like it's when the sun comes up. Morning like sad morning.
Morning with a U. With
Yeah.
an O-U. Yep.
Yeah.
Sad morning, which is just... Really? That's gotta fucking suck to know that that's your name.
Well, just like what a thing that you're just laying that vibe on a kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
your whole life is going to be mourning some shit that happened before you even got here. It's rude. Come on, Morwen.
Yeah, don't name your kids after how you're feeling that morning. Just
Yeah.
Right.
That kid hungry. I have like 3 kids named Hungry.
Didn't even have any coffee yet, and she's like, "We're gonna name this fucking kid, I don't know, fucking Nienor or some shit. I don't know."
Yeah, morning. I'm super sad. But yeah, there's not really much else to say about her at this juncture other than that she's born, and it said she becomes a flower in the cold north. That's from the text.
Yeah, it's just more important to know that Turin has a sister.
Yeah, and also...
She's going to have plenty of bad shit happen to her too, but this is when she was born.
Right. Also important to note that they don't know each other. They've never met each other.
Oh, yeah, they've never met because he left, like we just mentioned, he left and then she was born.
And then she was born. So they have no idea what each other looks like.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. More on that later. But let's get into Turin's Doriath adventures, right? He goes to Doriath. That's where his mom sent him.
Yeah, it said in the text that Turin's road was a long and evil one. And I mean, well, Morwen did say that it was going to be hard, a difficult thing. So that makes sense. And Turin was accompanied by the 2 very old trusted men of the House of Hador, Gathron and Girthnir. But they were young men during the days of Hador, when the House of Marak, which is Hador, entered the realm of Fingolfin. And it was there that when the first men moved into Dorloman.
Yeah, you might remember all of that bullshit from the Men episode, right? The House of Merrick, that's like the ancient House of Hador, coming to Dorloman, all that stuff. We talked a little bit about it in the first episode, but if you need more on that, check out that Men episode.
But basically what we're getting at with these 2 guys, Gethron and Girthnir, is they may be old now, but they are still super capable guys.
Of course.
These guys are no one to shake a stick at, even though they're a little bit more aged.
Yeah. I mean, they make it out of the mountains all the way over into, and they end up getting lost in the girdle of Melian, right? Yeah, when they reach the confines of Doriath, they try to enter, but they become desperately lost.
And this is typical with the enchantments, known as the Girdle of Melian. And I mean, this was first raised way, way back in the Years of the Trees, 1497. So
yeah, forever ago.
Quite some time.
Yeah, that was in first response to Morgoth coming back to Middle Earth, right?
Right, yeah, and keeping out the orcs and such.
Mm-hmm.
So after some time, the group runs out of food and begins to desperately cry for help.
Yeah, they're so hard up that they just start screaming.
I mean, when you get lost in the girdle of Melian, you're
fucked.
You're basically infinitely lost. You just can't get out, and there's nothing else for it.
Yeah.
Luckily for them, they would eventually get help in the form of one of King Thingol's most trusted warriors, Beleg Strongbow.
Hey.
Of course.
Cheers.
Yeah, how lucky do you have to be shouting in the woods and somebody actually be there?
Actually,
I know,
well,
right?
and have somebody actually fucking helpful.
Yeah, even a helpful person.
Yeah. Yeah, so he feeds the men, brings them to a shelter, like a little, because it's like a hunter's shack, essentially.
Oh, okay.
In the woods of Doriath. And Beleg, he's straight up fascinated by the men. Like, how are these mortal men trying to enter Doriath? This is wild.
How are they even here?
He starts listening to their tales, and he immediately takes a liking to Turin. He's like, this is a cool kid. I like him. We got a little excerpt from this meeting about this meeting from the Children of Húrin, chapter 4, The Departure of Turin, read by Trev.
He heard their cries and came to them. And when he had given them food and drink, he learned their names and whence they came. And he was filled with wonder and pity. And he looked with liking upon Turin, for he had the beauty of his mother and the eyes of his father, and he was sturdy and strong. "What boon would you have of King Thingol?" said Beleg to the boy. "I would be one of his knights, to ride against Morgoth and avenge my father," said Turin. "That may well be, when the years have increased you," said Beleg. "For though you are yet small, you have the makings of a valiant man, worthy to be the son of Húrin the Steadfast, if that were possible. For the name of Húrin was held in honor in all the lands of the elves."
Right. So Beleg, he sends word back to Menegroth, like right away when he finds these guys, right? He's like, hey, somebody go
Got some intruders. Like, so how did they even get here?
Yeah, tell Thingol and Melian there's more of them, you know.
There's more.
Turin and crew, they hang out with Beleg for some time as he sends the messengers to Menegroth. Yes, and he asks Thingol to receive them, right? I got some men of Hador here. Can they come in?
So Thingol and Melian agree to receive Turin and his, 2 travelers. So Beleg leads them through secret ways to the hidden kingdom of Menegroth.
Yeah, Turin is straight up amazed by all the wondrous things he sees, right? The 1,000 caves. Oh my God. And then he realizes that, like, these dudes here, these 3 guys, are the first mortals to see this shit since Baron or Camion.
Yeah, he's the only other person. Baron, the only other man.
Yeah, so, it's crazy, right?
So these guys are now, like, legend. Stuff's a legend.
Yeah, it's like the small amount of, there's like 13 people that have been on the moon or whatever, right? That's like a small amount of people.
Doriath is like the moon.
Doriath is like the moon. It is about
the 4 men to ever go to Doriath.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I suppose... never mind. Well, let's keep going.
Indeed.
Yeah, so Gethran, one of the men, he speaks Morwen's message to Thingol and Melian. And man, they are super stoked on Turin. They accept him immediately. I'm pretty sure King Thingol picks him up, puts him on his lap, right?
Yeah. We're about to get into that in a second. So I have a little theory that this is kind of in repentance for how he treated Baron just right off the bat. Right,
I can see that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And this is one of the things I wanted. Let's do a little excerpt first, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. So this is an excerpt from the Children of Húrin, Chapter 4, The Departure of Turin, read by Danny himself.
Then Gethron spoke the message of Morwen before Thingol and Melian, and Thingol set Turin upon his knee in honor of Húrin, mightiest of men, and of Baron his kinsman. And those that saw this marveled, for it was a sign that Thingol took Turin as his foster son, and that was not at the time done by kings, nor ever again by elf-lord to a man. Then Thingol said to him, Here, son of Húrin, shall your home be, and in all your life you shall be held as my son, man though you be. Wisdom shall be given you beyond the measure of mortal men, and the weapons of the elves shall be set in your hands. Perhaps the time may come when you shall regain the lands of your father in Hithlum, but dwell now here in love.
Man, how nice.
Yeah, Thingol's just like totally 360 of how he was to Baron when Baron got here.
Totally different.
And this is just like, this is character development, right? Right? This is the guy learning.
Yeah,
and
he knows better now.
Yeah, and I just love how much kinder Thingol is to men in general after Baron, because even though there's grief there with the whole Baron incident, right? Because of the loss of his daughter Luthien, the grief has softened him, right? Unlike Morwen, who has been hardened and become cold and despondent from grief, right?
I see where we're going with this.
It's almost like the elves who've been around for years and years and years know that it might be wiser
to act that way. Yeah, 100%, Trev. Yeah. It's a wisdom thing. And here's a little, as I was writing this episode, it reminded me of something I heard recently, actually. Fun Russian proverb. You want to read it, Trev?
Yeah, the same boiling water that softens the potato hardens the egg. It is about what you are made of, not the circumstances.
Right.
Hey, I like that.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing right here. That's the theme of grief, right? And how we react to grief, how we behave in spite of grief, right? Thingol becomes a better man because of it, in my opinion. He sees this as a second chance to be a father again, right? Because he loved his daughter Luthien, right? Mm-hmm. Thingol's just, he's a great guy for now.
For now.
But Turin's 2 guardians, let's talk about them.
So Grithnir died of old age living in Doriath. Kind of a nice time.
Yeah, why not? Yeah,
nice way to end your life. Just live it out peacefully in Doriath.
Yeah, if you got to choose, he got a good one.
Good place to kick the bucket, you know?
Not that dying is a nice time, but...
Never, yeah.
You get what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And Gethron eventually returned to Dorloman, so he did get to leave and go back.
Yeah, and he was sent with a whole secret escort of Sindarin elves. And they go to Morwen, directly to Morwen, and she was glad when she heard of Thingol's charity taking in her son, right, obviously. But the elves, they also brought gifts from Melian and a formal invitation to join her son in Doriath and be the guest of honor of the king and Melian, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah, man. I mean, if she wasn't...
What a win-win scenario, huh?
If she wasn't sure before that they would accept her, she certainly should be now.
Right.
Right. Well, she refuses the invitation, you guys.
Of course.
What?
Yeah. Well, because
from Melian of all people?
It mentions that she has the young baby, which is fair enough, right?
I guess.
But it also says it's just straight out of pride. And this is what you thought it was bad. It gets even worse. As the elves leave, she gives them a tip of gold, concealing her poverty. But she also sends with them the Helm of Hador.
Well, and I'm pretty sure it's like the text says it's the last bit of gold she has, too.
Yeah, it's like the gold that she hid away. Right. Yeah, like it's her bread money or whatever the fuck. Like, yeah.
Here is all that I have, but you will not know that it is all that I have.
And she does that just so these fucking elves from Doriath won't think she's broke.
Let's save some face.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
God.
Like, how are you so fucking proud?
I can't. I've met people in real life that are that prideful.
Oh, yeah.
It makes
them.
It makes me sick.
You know them, yeah. I've grown up among the poor, and there's poor people like that. It's fucking insane. It's really fucking weird.
Well, of course, Melian is sad when she hears Morin's answer. And just a reminder, Melian is the smartest person in the room. Always. So she figures it out immediately. She's like, Morwen's probably too proud, and she's much worse off than she's letting on. But what can we do?
Mm-hmm.
So when the Helm of Hador is given to Thingol, we get some background on the helm, and so we'll go into that helmet a little bit briefly here for you, just to give you guys some background.
This is when they go into it in the text. Let's go into it too.
It is a very interesting artifact.
It's a good thing. And Thingol, keep in mind, Thingol, it says this in the text. I couldn't fit it all in here. But Thingol's hoards, his treasure hoards, are full of weapons from Valinor that were gifted to him by the Noldor.
Oh shit!
And shit made by the dwarves of the Blue Mountains, just priceless artifacts.
Right, because he had a good relationship with most everyone.
Yeah, because Thingol's the oldest. He's been around for forever, right? Everyone freaking knows Thingol. So yeah, he keep in mind his collection is pretty sick. But when they put the Helm of Hador in his hands, he has a reverence for it. He's like, this is an important fucking thing that I have here in my hands. But yeah, let's get into this cool ass helmet, the Helm of Hador.
Yeah, so it was made by the famous dwarven smith Telkar of Nogrod.
Telkar?
And, he had made it for King Azagal of Belagast.
Yeah, Azagal, yeah.
And Azagal was traveling on one of the dwarven roads in the eastern parts of Beleriand when he was attacked by orcs.
Sure. And, the eastern part of Beleriand, so that's where the sons of Feanor hang out, right? Maedhros, son of Feanor, he shows up in the nick of time to save the day. And Azagal gives him this helmet as a token of gratitude. He's like, I got something cool for you.
Here you go.
So Maedhros eventually gifts this helm to his cousin and best friend, Fingon.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't think it ever really says why, but other than they're great friends, we know the story of Maedhros and Fingon, right? See that if you don't know that, right? The whole getting the hand cut off in Thangaradrim, whole epic friendship behind these guys. So we don't know why he gave it to him, but he did.
They're buds.
Yeah.
And I mean, just for some clarity, at this point, the elves kept this helmet only for its beauty because it was too large for them to wear.
Much too bulky. Yeah, it's kind of like having a gun that's a collectible gun that's way too big to actually fire. I have an elephant gun in my closet.
Meant to be one-handed, but it would clearly break your wrists if you ever did it.
Something like that.
And so just to round off all this gifting of this helmet, Fingon eventually gives it to Hador, when he was given the fiefdom of Dorloman by Fingolfin in First Age 416. So it's exchanged hands a lot of times.
So it kind of came hand in hand with the leadership of Dorloman.
Yeah, that's what it became. Yeah, it became an heirloom of the Lord of Dorloman, exactly 100%. It's funny that this artifact goes from the hands of the dwarves through the hands of the elves, two different branches. You have the Fingons, and then also the sons of Feanor, and then to men, right? Interesting. Let's do a description of this helmet here.
So this helmet was made of some gray steel with a visor, and it was very similar to the one that dwarves use in forges.
And one of the coolest things about it is that there was a crest on it that was adorned with the likeness of Glaurung the dragon. which we've got a bit of an excerpt here describing some of this here, read by Joel. It's from the Children of Húrin, Chapter 4, The Departure of Turin.
That helm was made of gray steel adorned with gold, and on it were runes of victory. A power was in it that guarded any who wore it from wound or death, for the sword that hewed it was broken, and the dart that smote it sprang aside. It was wrought by Telkar, the smith of Nogrod, whose works were renowned, and it had a visor, after the manner of those that dwarves used in their forges for the shielding of their eyes, and the face of the one that wore it struck fear into the hearts of all beholders, but was itself guarded from the dart and fire. Upon its crest was set in defiance a gilded image of Glaurung the dragon, for it had been made soon after he first issued from the gates of Morgoth.
What a menacing visage this helmet has.
it must have been
sounds
scary.
A little terrifying. Like, it's got a dragon on it. It's got like a scary fucking mask over it.
Well, it's too big for elves to wear.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be huge.
Yeah, and we're about to meet the little kid that's about to grow into that thing. So, Turin, let's get back to him. He's being fostered in Doriath, right? He's having a good time. He has some friends, and one of them is an elf maiden named Nellas.
And when Turin is young, he spends his days walking the woods with Nellis. And Melian had given her the task of watching over Turin in his youth. So she would, but strangely, she would not go into buildings of stone. So she just kind of stayed in the forest. But
That's very specific.
It's pretty specific.
Maybe
Little
maybe it's a textures thing because she did go barefoot, right?
Yeah, they did mention that she does go barefoot. Yeah, I don't know. She. You may or may not know from listening to the show that I am a neurodivergent, but also this elf kind of gives me neurodivergent vibes. Like, she stays in the woods by herself. You'll hear in this next excerpt here that she has like a childlike mentality. She's able to talk to Turin in a way. I don't know. It's just it's an interesting type of elf here. Maybe it's a neurodivergent elf. You never know.
Probably a good elf for Turin to have around too.
Yeah,
you know?
she's sick. I love Nellis. She's cool.
Considering he's not gotten much of a childhood up to this point.
Yeah, we talked about Nellis in the opening excerpt of this episode, actually. So check that out if you don't remember it.
Yeah, and in that excerpt, we'd mentioned that they walked hand in hand in the woods together. She taught him. She even taught him how to speak a dialect of Sindarin called, Doriathrin.
Doriathrin.
Doriathrin. That's a fun. I hadn't heard that one.
Yes.
But of course, it's a more ancient form of the language.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was new to me. That was really cool to learn.
Yeah, super cool. But sadly, like it says in the opening excerpt, that friendship kind of faded away. And Turin, as he got older, his mind changed to like getting revenge and fighting and all that stuff. So he stopped walking in the woods and he stopped hanging out with Nellis, and he kind of forgets her, which is super sad.
That was really sad.
Yeah.
But of course, she never forgot him. Elves have great memories. So
Right.
So as he gets older, Turin is trained in combat, lore, and other ways of the elves of Doriath. He's just getting everything, all the good teachings. And Turin has two homies in particular that he starts to hang out with. One being Mablung, the heavy-handed.
Yeah. He's one of the March Wardens to King Thingol, of course.
He's also one of the most renowned warriors of the Sindar, and he seems to be in charge of the defenses of the capital itself, Menegroth, while Beleg is more in command of the marches.
The frontiers, right? The outer parts of the kingdom. Yeah, you may remember Mablung from such stories as the Marieth Adderthad. This is
oh yeah, everyone will remember that one.
Everyone remembers.
It's one of my favorites. It's a classic.
The Marieth Adderthad, right?
My mom read that one to me.
Yeah, when I was a kid as well. Yeah, Sunday school. I think I learned about it. So this is the reunification feast held at the pools of Ivrin. This is when the Noldor first come back to Middle Earth, and everyone's friends because they haven't found out about the kinslaying. So that I believe that is the case. And Mablung and Daeron, they come to represent the elves of Doriath, which I learned were called the Eathrin, not the Doriathrim like you'd think. It's called the Eathrin. But you also might remember him from last series, right?
Oh, from the Baron and Luthien story, yeah, because
Right.
he partook in the hunt for the wolf.
Right. I think he's the one that slices the wolf open. If I
He does,
remember
yeah.
right.
He's the one that cuts the belly open and pulls out the Silmaril.
Yeah.
So epic. Yeah, go back and check out those episodes.
What a king. Yeah, fucking Mablung the Heavy-Handed. Cool guy.
Certified badass.
Yeah, let's get into the next homie.
Yeah, we mentioned Beleg just a moment ago, so let's talk about him as well. He's the second homie. His name is Beleg Cuthelion,
Yes.
also known as Beleg Strongbow. And last time when we did this series, we actually drank Strongbow cider.
Yeah,
to
Strongbow cider.
celebrate.
Yeah, we should have done that again. Damn,
missed opportunity.
Well, we got another episode with at
True.
least another episode with Beleg.
We might
He'll
have
be
a couple.
around.
Yeah, he's the chief of Thingol's March Wardens too. He's often on the north marches of Doriath near Brethel,
Yes,
and he is considered one of the greatest warriors of the Elder Days.
straight up. Yeah, he'll be among the greats.
He used a bow called the Belthrunding.
Belthronding, yeah,
Very cool name.
very cool. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a Sindarin word that loosely translates to strong stuff or strong thing.
yeah,
That's kind of funny. It's sort of generic, but not.
and that's of course where he got his name, Cuthalion, Strongbow. Yeah, it was just a crazy powerful bow made of black yew wood, right?
Oh, I feel like I've seen that kind of trope in video games. A lot of like really good bows are made of like black yew wood.
Yeah, well, yew wood is, I believe, what they used to make the English longbows out of back in like medieval times.
Yeah,
So those
yeah.
super-
You'd need something real strong.
super high tech bows
that
they
tension,
had.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like a 200-pound pull bow, my friend. It's pretty crazy. But in early versions of the lay, Beleg actually has a special arrow called Dylir, which is Quenya for cleaver, and he always found it unharmed after firing it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Joel, do you think this is maybe you know how like Tolkien took themes from his early stuff and brought it into Third Age stuff because he thought it was that cool?
I was just going to mention
Were you thinking that, like with Bard the Bowman,
Bard
right?
the Bowman, his trusty black arrow. Yeah.
Right, yeah, he always found it.
He always retrieved black arrow.
Yeah, I wonder if this is one of those things that he was like, that's a cool thing. I want to bring it into...
Seems that way.
Yeah. So Turin and Beleg, they're really good friends. They become super, super tight, like bros, right? Because Beleg's kind of like an uncle or something to Turin. Like he educates him in this adolescent time of his life, right? And he helps him learn most of the ways of warfare. And we got a little tiny excerpt here from the Children of Húrin, Chapter 5, Turin and Doriath, read by Trev.
Often Beleg Strongbow came to Menegroth to seek him, and led him far afield, teaching him woodcraft and archery, and, which he liked more, the handling of swords. But in crafts of making he had less skill, for he was slow to learn his own strength, and often marred what he made with some sudden stroke.
Yeah.
He's already a bit more apt to destruction, you might say.
Right. I was going to say I identify with this as someone who is nearly 7 feet tall and was that in high school even. A clumsy kid, right? I could easily destroy things I was trying to make, crush things with my hands, stuff like that.
The world
you know?
was not built with people like you in mind.
No, it was not, friend. Thank you for acknowledging that. Speaking of sad teenage years,
Good segue.
good segue. Let's get into Turin's sad teenage years.
So Turin ultimately lives with King Thingol in Doriath for 9 years. So by the age of 18, he had become a mighty man, even among the House of Hador, which was known for their mighty men.
Yeah.
Yeah, Turin was even pretty goddamn famous in Doriath.
Yeah. I mean, think of it. There's only one mortal man living among you. He's a massive monster of a man, beautiful as fuck, educated in the lore of the elves. Everybody would know that dude, right? He would be famous.
Yeah, and like even if you didn't know him personally, like
You'd know of
you
him.
would know of him.
Yeah.
I even want to be his friend.
I don't even want to be his friend. Turin becomes totally massive and has the skill and grace of an elf. And he's called Edonadel, which means man elf in Doriath.
Yeah, we've got a lovely description of Turin here from the Children of Húrin, Chapter 5, Turin and Doriath, read by Danny.
And Turin grew in stature until he became tall among men and surpassed that of the elves of Doriath. And his strength and hardihood were renowned in the realm of Thingol. In those years he learned much of lore, hearing eagerly the histories of ancient days and of great deeds of old, and he became thoughtful and sparing in speech. Strong silent type, right? That's who he becomes.
Dark, brooding,
Yeah.
tall,
Mhm.
tall, dark, handsome.
Yeah.
That sounds like Turin, all right.
Well, I keep in mind his mother is the most beautiful of mortal women, right? We learned that in the first episode of the first age.
Oh, is
Okay.
that where all of her energy is spent and why she's so cold?
in her beauty.
In her beauty.
I guess, man. I don't fucking know. But yeah, he inherits that, right? He's a good-looking guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd go
Elven
gay for
fair.
Turin.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah.
Of course.
Would go. Future tense? Come on, man.
So in First Age 481, when Turin was 17 years old, unfortunately all tidings from his mother and sister stopped. At this time, Morgoth's power had grown, and the roads were no longer safe for sending messengers. So
Yeah,
Thingol's messengers, they returned, and he quit sending them.
Yeah, they stopped coming back. So he was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna keep sending people out there."
Yeah, they're probably all dead, so...
Yeah. So yeah, totally cut off from his mother and sister now. Turin.
Super fun. I mean, he's not having the worst time, but he's still just the only human cut off from his family.
Yeah, might as well be living on the fucking moon. You know what I mean?
It's a little better than that.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I mean, as far as like alienation wise and whatever.
yeah.
Figuratively.
Yeah, there's aliens on the moon. You're right.
Right. Aliens on the moon. Everyone knows it. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm sad that we haven't been to the moon in a long time. And the story is sad, and I'm kind of just feeling it right now.
You think we should do another one?
I think we should do another one.
All right, let's get Joe Vasky in here to do another deep sea fact. Like I said, whenever I'm suffering from existential dread, go to YouTube, deep sea facts, put them on. We're going to palate cleanse you with some deep sea facts here. Here we go. Roll number 2.
Hey gang, this is Deep Sea Facts with Joe Vasky. I'm Joe Vasky. There are many horrible ways to die in the ocean. There are uncounted predators, as well as beyond harsh conditions. One of those horrible ways to die is wrapped in garbage. 100,000 animals die every year from entanglement from our garbage. Recently, a plastic bag from a grocery store was found at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the deepest known part of the ocean. I'm kind of curious what chain that was. Anyways, this is Deep Sea Facts with Joe Vasky. I'm Joe Vasky.
Ooh, that was a fun one. I like that. That made me feel... Do you feel better?
I think that'll tide me over.
Yeah. That made me feel better,
I think
too.
that was exactly like the lighthearted, educational type of information I was looking for.
Yeah, thanks, Joe Vasky. You're a indispensable part of this program.
You're a treasure.
A national treasure.
A light in the dark.
Yes. So let's talk about Turin on the north marches of Doriath, right?
Yeah, get back into the sads. So
Yeah.
eventually Turin went before Thingol and asked him to let him go ahead and begin, doing some badassery, going out into the wild and hunting and doing all sorts of stuff. And he wants some sword and mail, and he wants to go out and fight. He wants to kick some ass.
Yeah, pretty much says as much. And Thingol offers to make him a knight and station him on the north marches of Doriath, which is all the action is, right? We got an excerpt from this conversation from the Children of Húrin, chapter 5, Turin and Doriath, read by Joel.
Thingol looked on Turin in wonder, seeing suddenly before him in the place of his fosterling a man and a stranger, tall, dark-haired, looking at him with deep eyes and a white face, stern and proud, but he did not speak. "What do you desire, foster son?" said Thingol, and guessed that he would ask for nothing small. "Mail, sword, and shield of my stature, lord," answered Turin. "Also by your leave I will now reclaim the dragon helm of my sires." "These you shall have," said Thingol. "But what need have you of such arms?" "The need of a man," said Turin, "and of a son who has kin to remember, and I need also companions, valiant in arms." "I will appoint you a place among my knights of the sword, for the sword will ever be your weapon," said Thingol. "With them you make trial of war upon the marches, if that is your desire."
I kind of love this. I love that the king's just like, fuck yeah, you want to go off to war? Do it.
You're a monster, of course.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Yes.
Go for it, man. All right.
Yeah, like we'll make some shit big enough for you.
Knock yourself out, bud.
Send you out there, bud. You want to use a sword, you'll be scary. Go for it.
No shortage of orcs nowadays.
Yeah,
Well, and the fact that
exactly.
he can wear that helm, like, period.
Right. Right.
It said the helm was scary already.
Scary
It's
already,
just adding
yeah.
to his overall foreboding stature.
Yeah. So yeah, Thingol wants him to go up and play soldier in the North Marches here, but Turin says he straight up wants to go back to Hithlum and help his family, right? And Thingol, he replies that he will send no warriors abroad at this time because obviously that would be a crazy ass thing to do.
Yeah, that's just sending him out to die.
Yes.
Die in the wild.
Yeah, so instead, he's like, hey, Turin, just go up to the marches, man, until you're like more fully grown and you can actually help Dorloman.
Go
Yeah.
get some,
Go get some experience.
Go get
you
some
know?
XP,
This is your foot in the door job.
Yeah, exactly.
Go farm some XP over there.
Farming XP up on the North Marches. So Melian, she then speaks up, and she says that he's free to leave Doriath whenever he wants to. The girdle does not contain him, but she advises him against doing so. And eventually it's Melian who gets through to Turin, and he goes away to the North Marches and does, what they want him to, essentially. We've got another little excerpt here from Children of Húrin, Chapter 5, Turin and Doriath, read by Trev.
And soon after, he put on the dragon helm and took arms, and went away to the North Marches, and was joined to the elven warriors who there waged unceasing war upon the orcs and all the servants and creatures of Morgoth. Thus, while yet scarcely out of his boyhood, his strength and courage were proved, and remembering the wrongs of his kin, he was ever forward in deeds of daring, and he received many wounds by spear or arrow or the crooked blades of the orcs. But his doom delivered him from death, and word ran through the woods, and was heard far beyond Doriath, that the dragon helm of Dorloman was seen again. Then many wondered, saying, can the spirit of any man return from death, or has Húrin escaped indeed from the pits of hell?
Love that shit. Super cool.
So I'm gathering from this, it sounds like people are like, oh shit, Húrin's back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Who could this be?
Who could this be? Which ironic is if you knew your House of Hador history, you'd know that Húrin never wore the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was too big for him, and he liked to see people face to face when he murdered them.
You have to look into their eyes and see the light go out.
Right, yeah, right. So Turin's life in Doriath is, it could be better, but one of the things that makes it really start to suck is that there's this dude that really doesn't like him, right? And they start to get major beef with each other.
Yeah, we're talking, of course, of a guy named Cyros.
Right.
And they have some major beef.
Major beef. Not just general beef, but major beef.
You might even say chief beef.
Or chief beef. So he's a Nandor elf. I think he's from the Greenwood, if I remember right. But he's in high standing in Doriath. And he just really doesn't like Turin. And he's a prick from day one.
Yeah, and I mean, it pretty much says that in the text. Like, read between the lines. That's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't like any of the race of men. Especially, like, he really doesn't like the kin of Baron, which, I don't know if he got that handed down to him from Thingol initially. Like, maybe he's just jaded, but...
I think it's because he was friends with Daeron.
That's what I always thought, too, because him and Daeron were close.
Him and Daeron the minstrel were tight.
If you remember, Daeron was the dude that loved Luthien.
That's right.
Yeah. So he's like, he's being a homie.
Well, we'll actually talk about it right here. We've got a excerpt here about all this from the same chapter of the Children of Húrin, chapter 5, read by Danny.
Cyrus was proud, dealing haughtily with those whom he deemed lesser state and worth than himself. He became a friend of Daeron the minstrel, for he was also skilled in song, and he had no love for men, and least of all for any kinsman of Baron One Hand. Is it not strange, said he, that this land should be open to yet another of this unhappy race? Did not the other do harm enough in Doriath? Therefore he looked askance at Turin, and on all that he did, saying what ill he could of it. But his words were cunning, and his malice veiled. If he met with Turin alone, he spoke haughtily to him, and showed plain his contempt. And Turin grew wary of him. Though for long he returned ill words with silence, for Cyros was great among the people of Doriath, and a counselor of the king. But the silence of Turin displeased Cyros as much as his words.
It's just like a bully, right?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yep.
man, you took the words right the fuck out of my mouth. This dude is a classic bully.
Not
right?
getting the rise he wants.
Yeah, he's not getting the reaction he wants, and that's that does really piss bullies off if you do that to them. Yeah, so this is, and the beef is just going to escalate from here. Let's get into the incident, right?
The incident.
So one day Turin comes in from the marches, right? You know how like when you get off like a 12-hour shift and somebody looks at you and like, hey, look, you look like shit. It's like,
I've had a day, bro.
yeah, it's like
He's
you have
been working
no
hard
idea.
outside.
Yeah, you have no idea what I've been through today, brother. Yeah. So his hair and clothes are unkempt and dirty. They're torn. He looks around for Thingol, but learns he's abroad with Melian in the Greenwood, like he is at every time at this time of year, every year at this time. And he's super tired, so he sits down at a table full of Elder Eldar. Isn't that funny?
Elder Eldar.
Without thinking anything of it, right?
And this just so happened to be Cyrus's usual seat.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
And
Sitting in my spot. Classic bully.
yeah. And of course, him being him, he's thinking, well, Turin must have did it on purpose. So he gets all pissed off, and I mean, he's even more pissed off that the elders welcomed Turin and like they didn't tell him to move. So,
Yeah, like this dude expected them to be like, get on a Cyrus's chair. Like, no.
nobody feels that way. And so, when Cyrus comes up, he pretends to be stoked to talk to Turin.
Right,
Oh
he's-
yeah, what's up?
He's a class A phony, this dude.
Yeah, he just comes up and starts bombarding him with stupid bullshit questions, and eventually Turin just starts to zone out because he's just blabbing at him just to be a dick.
Right, yeah, he doesn't give a shit. It's skin deep conversation. It's total bullshit, right? Turin's not here for it. Turin starts thinking of how alone he feels. I love how that's like he's surrounded by people and he's like, damn, I am truly alone.
He's like the only one of his kind in this place.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, to be fair.
Yeah, and so he starts thinking of how alone he is, even though he's surrounded by people, and his mother away in Hithlum. And we got a little zerpt here for you from Chapter 5, Turin and Doriath, the Children of Húrin, read by Joel.
Then Turin became very wary, and he looked about him and knew the bitterness of exile. And for all the light and laughter of the elven halls, his thought turned to Beleg and their life in the woods, and thence far away to Morwen and Dorloman in the house of his father. And he frowned because of the darkness of his thoughts, and made no answer to Cyrus.
This kind of happens to me a lot as somebody that has depression issues. Sometimes I'll be like sitting in a room or on the bus or something, and I'll have a spiral in my head, and then I'll just start to look hella sad. And people will look at me and they're like, what just happened? And you're just like, no, I'm cool. Don't, nothing to do with what you just said. Carry on.
Well, he is like 18 right now, so
Right, he's
this
super
is,
angsty teenager.
This is about the time when those things start coming out.
Yep.
And of course, Cyrus, he can't take it. He's like, why aren't you listening to me, motherfucker? And he stands up and he casts a comb down on the table in front of Turin.
Yeah, a comb.
A comb.
Oh, rude.
Intending to mock Turin's appearance.
Right.
And, Turin has a glint in his eyes, but Cyrus keeps on pushing.
Yeah, it literally says he had a look like, don't push me, motherfucker. And Cyrus just went right past that.
Don't cross this line.
Yeah. Yeah, and he fucks with him even further by starting to talk shit about the women of Hithlum, dude.
Ooh, bad choice.
Low blow.
And what does Turin do? But the legendary move of breaking Cyrus's fucking jaw for the insult, right? What a baller move. Gangster, right? And then he draws his sword and comes at Cyrus, only to be strained by his homie Mablung. We got the whole thing here in black and white from the Children of Húrin, Chapter 5, Turin and Doriath, read by Trev.
If the men of Hithlum are so wild and fell, of what sort are the women of that land? Do they run like deer, clad only in their hair? Then Turin took up a drinking vessel and cast it in Cyrus's face, and he fell backward with great hurt. And Turin drew his sword and would have run at him, but Mablung restrained him. Then Cyrus, rising, spat blood upon the board, and spoke as best as he could with a broken mouth.
How long shall we harbor this one woes? Who rules here tonight? The king's laws heavy upon those who hurt his lieges in the hall, and for those who draw blades, their outlawry is the least doom.
Nice.
I love that. He got a fucked up jaw.
He deserves it.
Bam. Hit him in the jaw. Love it.
So at this stupid comment from Cyrus, Turin just gets up and leaves the room. He's not about to let him get baited into freaking out in front of everybody.
Yeah, you just got to walk away, man. Turn the other cheek. That's what Jesus said, right?
And I mean, Moblung knows this is, he holds Cyrus responsible for all of this. Like,
Oh, yeah.
he was a witness, and but Cyrus warns Moblung that if Turin ever comes at him, he's gonna kill him. Like,
He's such a little bitch.
He's such a hot-headed asshole.
That guy ever comes at me any other time, I'll kick his ass, man.
he's lucky he broke my jaw.
Yeah, he's lucky he fucking threw that cup at me.
I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah, this dude is pathetic.
We've got a lovely excerpt here from that same chapter, chapter 5, Turin and Doriath, read by Danny.
It might well go otherwise, said Mablung, but if either be slain, it will be an evil deed, more fit for Angband than Doriath, and more evil will come of it. Indeed, I feel that some shadow of the north has reached out to touch us tonight. Take heed, Cyrus, lest you do the will of Morgoth in your pride, and remember that you are of the Eldar.
Ooh.
Puts him in his place, right? And yeah, some wise words there from Mablung. So Mablung's not only a warrior, he's wise as fuck.
But we know based on how Cyrus has been acting, he doesn't take these words to heart at all.
Yeah.
He decides to just he jumps Turin.
Yeah, he just jumps him. And wouldn't you know it? Yeah, Cyrus is still pissed, at Turin. He's probably for breaking his jaw. Most likely making him talk funny, like in that excerpt.
He's
right?
probably got a lisp for life.
Yeah.
Accurately portrayed in that excerpt.
Accurately, yes. Yeah, but one day as Turin is minding his own business in Doriath, Cyrus decides to take him at unawares, right? He's too much of a coward to do it in fair and square, right?
Yeah, but Turin sees this ambush. Like Turin's like really good at this shit now.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
And, he reacts swiftly. And the two of them fight for some time. But Turin ends up wounding Cyrus' sword arm. And, he gets the better of him at this point. We've got an excerpt from this same chapter 5, The Children of Húrin, read by Joel.
Turin had gone only a little way when Cyrus ran out upon him from behind with drawn sword and shield on arm. But Turin, trained in the wild to wariness, saw him from the corner of his eye, and leaping aside he drew swiftly and turned upon his foe. "Morwen," he cried, "now your mocker shall pay for his scorn." And he clove Cyrus' shield, and then they fought together with swift blades. But Turin had been long in a hard school, and had grown as agile as any elf, but stronger. He soon had the mastery, and wounding Cyrus' sword arm, he had him at his mercy. Then he set his foot on the sword that Cyrus had let fall. "Cyrus," he said, "there is a long race before you, and clothes will be a hindrance. Hair must suffice." And suddenly throwing him to the ground, he stripped him, and Cyrus felt Turin's great strength and was afraid. But Turin let him up, and then, "Run, run, mocker of women," he cried. "Run, and unless you go swift as the deer, I shall prick you on from behind." Then he set the point of his sword in Cyrus's buttock, and he fled into the wood crying wildly for help in his terror. But Turin came after him like a hound. However he ran, or swerved, still the sword was behind him to egg him on.
I kind of love this. It's like
I love it too.
he's getting him back for that insult, being like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
how you said the women of Hador act, right? This is how you're gonna act now."
Yeah. It's funny because you're fairly new to the tale, Trev, and it took you. We went through review yesterday, and then getting here today for you to realize the connection between him saying, "Do they run clad only in their hair?" and him stripping him naked and making him run. Right?
Saying hair will suffice.
Hair will suffice.
Yeah. I was
I
listening.
never made that connection before, and I've read this a million times.
Joel's read it a million times, and he had never made that connection either, which is really funny.
Yeah, it took me.
You must thought
listening
Turin
to it.
is Turin is a creative guy.
I was like, man, he's a real pervert, huh?
Real pervy dude.
But it's pretty goddamn funny. Honestly.
It's pretty fucking funny.
It is pretty funny.
And Cyrus deserves every bit of it.
Oh, yeah, he does.
But that being said,
Yeah, it does go a bit too far.
goes a bit too far.
So Turin chases him through the woods, and people begin to come out and follow the spectacle, because it's a spectacle. He's running around naked, screaming.
Naked man running through the streets, essentially.
And Mablung is the only one fast enough to keep up with Turin and the justifiably terrified Cyrus. And as he follows, he quotes what one can assume is a Balerianism.
Yeah.
I like that word.
A Balerianism. Yeah. And he says, "Malice that wakes in the morning is the mirth of Morgoth ere night." Love that. Yeah, Mablung is cool as shit. Love that dude.
He's a wise elf.
You were about to say man. Ha!
I was about to say man, but he's an elf.
Mablung catches up to Turin and he urges him to stop, calling this act orc work. Love that.
That's kind of a good insult.
But how does Turin respond?
Oh, it's merely play. Or orc play.
Yeah, he says orc play. He says merely this is orc play.
There's a difference between orc work and orc play.
Yeah.
Duh, Mablung.
So Turin chases Cyros all the way to where a stream flowed in a deep cleft. And Cyros is too terrified to properly judge the distance, and so he just runs and he just tries to go and jump it. And this does not turn out so chill.
Right, to say the least. Let's just get it straight from the text here. Children of Húrin, Chapter 5, Turin and Doriath, read by Trev Dog.
In his terror, Cyros attempted the leap, but he failed of his footing on the far side and fell back with a cry, and was broken on a great stone in the water. So he ended his life in Doriath, and long would Mandos hold him. Turin looked down on his body lying in the stream, and he thought, "Unhappy fool! From here I would have let him walk back to Menegroth. Now he has laid a guilt upon me undeserved." And he turned and looked darkly on Mablung and his companions, who now came up and stood near him on the brink. He kind of scared him to death here, in a way.
Yeah, he sort of did, yeah.
Yeah, he made him too terrified to realize that he wasn't going to make that jump.
I imagine this looks pretty bad to those walking up.
Oh
though.
yeah, I mean this is out of context. Looks pretty fucking bad here. We don't know. We don't know that this guy literally just tried to cut his throat. Like you know, like
this looks like murder,
Right.
basically.
This looks
does,
like straight up
yeah.
murder. Yeah, that's how it took place in Doriath, right? In Doriath, in the text, in the Children of Húrin, right? But let's get into our own little universe that we've created here.
It's been a little while since we've visited this world.
Yeah, this universe that we've created is the Mintered, or Minnesota Tolkien radio drama universe that is going on, right?
Yeah, we hope you'll enjoy a little travel back to Minturd land
Yeah.
for a retelling of this tale.
So if you're unfamiliar, if you're new because of the 100th episode, thanks, first of all, for listening. But you may or may not know our long-running segment where we do scenes from Tolkien as if they were Minnesotans, right? Or taking place in Minnesota. So that's what this is going to be. But this is the Children of Húrin edition, guys. Please enjoy.
For it was in this time that young Turin had to flee his homeland of Wisconsin far, far away. He was to be fostered by elves that lived deep within the enchanted forests of Minnesota. Turin was taught many of the ways of these strange folk. He adopted many of their customs as his own. One such of these customs was going up north to the cabin for the weekend. When Turin was returning from one such journey, he saw a group of elves sitting around a smoker. They were cooking some venison cheddar brats and sipping on some Northeast. Turin, tired and still a little drunk from the weekend up north, staggered into the gathering where the elders beckoned him to an empty lawn chair with a smile.
Oh, yeah there, Turin. Sit down, why don't you, hey? Crack open a Northeast over there. We got some cheddar brats coming up here.
Oh, yeah? Oh, real good. Yeah, okay.
The group of elves merrily chomped into their cheddar brats and pounded a few more Northeast. Turin and Mablung got to talking.
So, what were you doing up north there for the weekend?
Oh, yeah, we just got up to the usual, you know. We just got down, taking the four-wheelers out, and we were whipping some shitties with them. Good old times, you know.
Oh, yeah, it looks like you were out there doing some serious mudding, hey?
Turin was still talking to Mablung when Cyros approached. He did not like Turin, and he did not look happy. He walked up to the group and awkwardly interrupted as Turin was talking about whipping shitties on the four-wheelers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've all whipped a shitty or two, hey?
Cyros greeted the group with a phony smile.
Ah, and it looks like we have the honor of having Son of Húrin here with us. Oh, and sitting in my chair. Oh, covered in mud there, I see.
Turin looked down to see the mud all over the chair.
Oh, jeez. Oh, I didn't even realize. Oh, gosh darn it, I'm sorry.
Turin started to get up, but Cyros stopped him with a false politeness.
Oh, no. You stay right there now, hey.
Are you sure? You want me to hose it off?
Oh, no. I'll hose it off later. It just costs like $1,200 because of the cooler and everything. I'm sure it'll be just fine, though.
Cyrus pulled up a 5-gallon bucket, flipped it over, and sat on it. He pretended to be excited to talk to Turin, bombarding him with courteous but insincere speech. Turin's mind, however, began to wander. He started thinking about depressing things like when Gary Anderson, who had never missed a field goal or extra point in the entire year, missed wide left on a 39-yard field goal in the NFC Championship game in '98. Turin thought of how the Vikings lost that game and how no one ever really wins the game of life. Turin understandably frowned at this thought. However, Cyros thought this was aimed at him, and he became irate. He stood up, huffed, stomped his feet, and walked away mumbling. The others took no notice of Cyrus's outburst, and after a few minutes he came back, only he was carrying the end of a garden hose. He threw the hose down on the table in front of Turin.
Yeah, maybe where you're from, it's okay being all muddy in other people's lawn chairs. But here, yeah, we really don't do that kind of thing. Maybe you ought to just hose yourself off then, hey?
Turin pushed the rubber hose off the table and stared at Cyrus without a word. Moblung put a hand on Cyrus's shoulder to try to de-escalate the situation. Cyrus was undeterred, and he stepped forward and spoke again.
Yeah, well, you know what, guys? If the men of Wisconsin are so muddy and nasty all the time, I wonder how the women are.
There was an audible reaction from the onlookers.
Ooh.
Turin stared and still said nothing.
Yeah, I bet they have to hose them off right there on the porch and everything. You know what? I bet they're butt naked too even, huh?
With that, Turin stood up as quick as lightning and folded his lawn chair and tossed it at Cyrus's face. Because of the weight of the extra ultra-deluxe drink cooler that he himself had paid money for, Cyrus's jaw was totally broken by the blow to the face.
Oh, figure they broke my stinking jaw here.
Turin lunged at Cyrus, but was restrained by Moblung. Cyrus wept like a child that fell off their bike. It was a pathetic thing to see.
That really friggin' hurt, eh? That wasn't fair. I'll get you for this.
Cyrus pathetically picked up his deluxe folding lawn chair complete with drink cooler.
What? You was expensive.
And with that, Cyrus blubbered off into the night, hating Turin even more than ever. It would be some time later before Cyrus and Turin would meet again. It was some time into the winter season, and Turin had headed back from up north into Doriath. He was riding fast on his Arctic Cat ZR 858 that Thingol gave him for his birthday. The trail was an ancient snowmobile trail used for thousands of years by the Eldar. Turin knew it like the back of his hand. Turin was taking the turns like a pro when around a blind turn he saw Cyrus standing on the trail, smiling.
Oh, jeez!
What Cyrus didn't count on was that Turin was taught how to snowmobile by the elves of Doriath. He quickly whipped a shitty and missed Cyrus and came to a complete stop. It was too bad that only Cyrus was there to see how badass it was.
You just about friggin' killed me, eh? What the frig you think you're doing out here?
Cyrus was fuming. He clearly meant for Turin to crash his super cool snowmobile.
Oh yeah, you were totally trying to kill me, weren't you, huh?
Oh, yeah, you betcha I was. And now when I finish the job, eh?
Cyrus reached into his jacket and pulled out a buck knife. He lunged at Turin, but he was too quick. Like a flash of lightning, Turin leaped back to his snowmobile and brandished a hockey stick that had been stowed on the back. He used it to slap Cyrus hard across the face.
Oh, jeez. It friggin' hurt. God dang it.
Turin then quickly disarmed Cyrus with the hockey stick. Cyrus began to look afraid.
Oh yeah, here we go. I got you now. Hey, maybe I ought to teach you some manners talking about how muddy and naked my mom and sister are, you know what I mean?
Oh, no. Please, Turin, hey. I didn't mean it, bud. I swear.
Oh yeah? Oh, I'm sure you didn't, eh? But I'm gonna teach you some manners, you know what I mean?
Turin then stripped Cyrus. It was a long process this time of year and was pretty awkward. Cyrus almost helped just to speed things along. Cyrus was left in nothing but his red striped long johns. Then Turin ripped the butt flap off to expose Cyrus's butt cheeks.
Yeah, you better run now, you know what I mean?
Turin then spanked him hard on the butt with the hockey stick.
Ah! Oh, jeez! Oh, jeez!
With that, he started running. Looking over his shoulder in terror, he saw Turin go for the snowmobile. He mounted it and followed, holding the stick out in front of him as he rode.
I'll teach you to mark my. Get going now. Get on, get.
He spanked Cyrus again. This went on for some time, and people began to come out to see what was going on. Turin continued the chasing, and of course, the spanking. Everyone came out to see Turin chasing Cyrus in his long johns. Mabling mounted his snowmobile and sped off to catch Turin. When Mabling caught up to Turin, he cried and tried to speak with him.
Oh, yeah there, Turin. What seems to be the issue here, bud?
Oh, yeah, just having a bit of fun, eh?
Turin and Mabling were now coming to the shores of a lake. It was early in the winter, and the ice was not thick. They both stopped abruptly, but Cyrus kept running.
Oh, no! Cyrus! It's too early in the season, hey? Come back!
Cyrus paid no heed to the warning. Suddenly, Cyrus heard beneath him cracking ice. He quickly fell through into the deep, icy waters.
Oh, jeez!
Mabling and Turin looked on as he sank into the waters and never came back up. Mabling turned to Turin. A crowd was gathering around them now.
Oh, what the heck here, Turin? You know it's too early in the season, hey?
I didn't tell him to go out there, hey? I was gonna let him walk into town in nothing but his skivvies. I wasn't trying to kill him. Just, make him look like a dumbass.
I really kind of find that hard to believe here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I can see that, but honestly, I didn't care much for the guy, you know what I mean? Kinda glad he's dead,
Turin then mounted his snowmobile and whipped a shitty as he was leaving the scene. Everyone looked on speechless as he drove off.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez.
And that's it, guys. Ba-ba-ba-ba.
End scene.
And scene. Hope you enjoyed that. That's how it might have went down if we were in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, lots of snowmobiles and whipping shitties.
Benz and cheddar brats.
Oh, yeah.
Some Nordies.
Whipping shitties. I love that. That's fucking so Minnesota. I love that shit. If you Google it, if you don't know what it means. Let's get back to the story of the Children of Húrin, guys, now that we've had our fun for the day.
Yeah, okay, so Cyrus has died, right?
Right. Not cool. He's broken in the river.
It was an accident.
Yeah, total accident, but Turin also says that he unfairly placed the blame on him.
Right, because it kind of makes him look bad. It looks like it wasn't an accident.
Right.
Well, and it's also like, now you made me responsible for your death. Like, how dare you?
Dick, yeah.
So let's get into a little bit of the aftermath of this death here. So none of the people that came out to see what was going on saw how it all started. So naturally, they all assumed that Turin was the aggressor and that he pretty much committed murder.
It must,
it
must be the man.
Yeah, exactly, right? It must be the man. But also, the last thing that these two had done to each other was Turin broke the dude's jaw.
Right.
So it seems like Turin just has it out for this motherfucker and just killed him in front of everybody. Like, that's what it looks like.
Well, and it definitely said earlier that Cyrus was really good at hiding his, contempt for him when he was around others.
Yeah,
so
other people were too dumb to realize that this guy was being mean to Turin.
Yeah, he brought it on himself.
Yeah.
But, Mabling, he encourages Turin to return to Menegroth so he can await the king's judgment, and Turin refuses.
Yeah, just straight up out of pride.
A little bit of the Morrowind in him.
A little bit of the Morrowind pride. Yeah, this is one of the things I wanted to talk about through this series is like how Turin behaves in certain situations, or how sometimes you'll see, oh, this is a Húrin moment. Oh, this right here is a Morrowind moment, and
100.
Sometimes we have a mixed episode, like they say, where it's both, right?
Interesting.
Like this episode with Cyrus was kind of both, right? It was a pride thing, which is because he made fun of his mother and the women of Hithlum, but it was also super dramatic and outlandish, like how Húrin would respond.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's a dreadful pride with this impulsive garish behavior that Húrin would have, right? It's a recipe for disaster, really.
As they say, the apple does not fall far from the tree.
Right. Yeah, and these are the people that reared this dude, you know?
Well, Turin, he thinks he should be held guiltless. But because, Cyrus had a high standing with Thingol, Turin was convinced that he wouldn't receive any justice.
Yeah, he's like, I'm never going to get a fair trial in Menegroth.
No. He's just like, I'm fucked. I'm fucked here. So Mablung rebukes Turin for his proud words, but urges him to come back as a friend with him to Menegroth, and naturally he refuses again. We got an excerpt here from the Children of Húrin, Chapter 5, Turin and Doriath, read by Denny.
Turin said to Mablung, I refuse your bidding. I will seek King Thingol's pardon for nothing, and I will go now where his doom cannot find me. You have but two choices, to let me go free or slay me, if that would fit your law, for you are too few to take me alive. They saw by the fire in his eyes that this was true, and they let him pass. One death is enough, said Mablung. I did not will it, but I do not mourn it, said Turin. May Mandos judge him justly, if he ever return to the lands of the living. May he prove wiser. Farewell. I love that. Like, to the end, though, that's Turin is like, he that's also Morwen, right? Like, he's not going to lie about it. This guy was a dick, and he deserved it, and Turin hated him to the end, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to split hairs here. Like, he hated the guy.
He's straightforward.
Yeah, he's very straight. I didn't want it to happen, but I'm glad it did,
He said what he means, and he means what he said.
Yeah, very frank and forthright, just like his mother. So, yeah, Turin... This is the part of the story where Turin leaves Doriath, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So say goodbye to the kingdom of Doriath for a little bit.
And all its comforts and its security.
Yes. We got a little bit left in Doriath, but yes, we're leaving soon, guys. But Turin, he will straight up not return to Thingol out of pride. He says he has nothing to be sorry for, and he will not return to Thingol for judgment.
Yeah, even though he is Thingol's adopted son, still no.
But for now, Turin just kind of rides off into the sunset. We're going to leave him there for now, guys. But we're going to go back to Menegroth now.
For Turin's trial.
Yeah, in absentia, because he's not there.
Yeah, they hold one anyway.
Yeah.
So when Turin does not return to the North Marches, Beleg comes, he comes to Menegroth looking for him. And Melian and Thingol had also just returned from the Greenwood. And Thingol tells Beleg to get together all the elders, because a trial's going to happen.
We're going to have a trial.
So at this trial, witnesses are brought before Thingol, and Mablung tells the court about the quarrels between Cyrus and Turin, and Thingol pardons Turin for breaking Cyrus's jaw, but he says that shaming Cyrus was not warranted, and still... Nobody knows that Turin was abused first at this point, so...
Right, they have no idea, right? So they're like we said, it looks bad.
It looks pretty bad.
It looks bad for Turin.
Well, he has no choice but to hold Turin guilty.
Yeah, based on the evidence presented here, it doesn't... this is so out of character for him to murder this dude. He knows that, but he has no evidence to support it, so he has no choice but to pronounce this doom.
Yeah, and before he does, he even asks, for any dissent to be heard, does anybody disagree with this?
I really don't want to do this, guys. Somebody fucking stop me. And we got an excerpt here about that from the Children of Húrin, Chapter 5, Turin and Doriath, read by Joel.
Then Thingol sat for a while in thought, and spoke sadly at last. This is an ungrateful foster son, and in truth a man too proud for his state. How can I still harbor one who scorns me and my law, or pardon one who will not repent? This must be my doom. I will banish Turin from Doriath. If he seeks entry, he shall be brought to judgment before me, and until he sues for pardon at my feet, he is my son no longer. If any here accounts this unjust, let him speak now.
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
That's right.
I wonder if Thingol says that for every trial that happens.
I don't think he does. I think he's really reticent to pronounce this doom. He's like, somebody please give me an excuse.
Somebody stop me.
Yeah, somebody stop me.
Stop me.
I love that, Trev. Good one. If somebody stop me. That's what he's asking.
And hey, somebody does.
Yeah, and who is that somebody? But one of the greatest characters in this story, Beleg Strongbow.
Beleg Cuthalion.
Yeah, suddenly he bursts in right in the nickname. He says he's got a witness that needs to be heard. Thingol's like, well, I'm about to pronounce this doom. And he's like, literally a personal favor to me. Hear this next witness. You'll want to hear this. So who does he lead in? But from the beginning of the story, or this episode rather, Nellas, the elf maiden.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, the young elf maiden that was his friend when he was like a boy growing up. And they were running, playing in the woods and whatnot.
Yes.
That he forgot all about.
That he forgot all about. Very sad.
Right, very sad.
Very sad.
Well, she is frightened and speechless at first. She's never seen the splendor of Thingol's halls because remember, she doesn't go into buildings.
Oh, that's right.
This is very against her nature to do this.
Okay.
That's how much she loves Turin. She's literally breaking her rule to go indoors, right? And
This is a
Beleg,
very large building.
yeah, there's a series of caves and shit. Yeah, it's scary, right? And she's also never been around this many people at one time, right? Like she's super anxious right now. And Thingol is patient with her as she stumbles through her testimony, right? Like she's not doing well. Like she's very, very nervous, right? She tells the story of how she saw Cyros ambush Turin and how the two fought each other until Turin had won the fight. And she said that his shaming of him, what she said about the shaming of him, she said, if Cyros were put to shame, it was shame that he had earned.
Brought it on himself.
Yeah. So Thingol's like pretty stoked on hearing this.
Yeah, this is exactly what he needed to hear. This is what he wanted to hear.
Yes, he's like, thanks, Beleg. I knew that I could always depend on you for everything. And so basically, in light of this testimony, Turin is exonerated in Doriath. And Thingol not only grants full pardon to Turin, he wants him to come back and dwell there in Doriath as his foster son, as he did so many years prior.
Yeah, so at this point he will actually seek out Turin and try to go send Thingol's pardon to him.
Yeah.
Try to track him down.
Yeah.
Then we have a final excerpt here from that same chapter, 5, from the Children of Húrin, read by Trevor.
Hear me. Such fault as can be found in Turin I now pardon, holding him wronged and provoked. And since it was indeed, as he said, one of my counsel who so misused him, he shall not seek for this pardon, but I will send it to him, wherever he may be found, and I will recall him in honor to my halls.
Yeah, Thingol's sending for Turin, right? Turin is going off God knows where, right? We left him in the sunset for now.
Right.
And yeah.
Running off into the wilderness, who knows where.
We gotta, he's basically, we're gonna end here today for the episode, but we gotta find him.
I feel like this says a lot about Thingol too, because like we were talking about earlier in the episode, his growth as a person, really,
Right?
Like the fact that
how
could,
grief has changed him.
Yeah.
and he can even look past like one of his like trusted elves, like high up on the totem pole, to still be like, man, Turin, like you couldn't have done this, right? Like,
Right? Yeah, Cyrus is like a well-respected member of his court, right? Like,
yeah.
It's a pretty crazy thing to like, this guy's been bullying you, and like to find all that out is pretty wild, you know, and to acknowledge that he was wrong, his homie was wrong. It's a big thing to do.
Yeah, Thingol handles this well.
A lot of kings wouldn't do that, right? Like, imagine the American government. Do we admit that we do things wrong? No.
No. We cover it up and then we do it again.
We
right?
cover about it. We cover it up, lie about it, and do it again. Yes, but yes, that's not what Thingol's going to do because he's a good king.
Yeah, and no, I mean, Thingol does some good things and some not so great things, but overall, I think Thingol's a good king.
I like him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like him. Yeah, we get into the whole story arc of Thingol in this series. Guys.
Oh, we will, but that's all we've got for today.
That's all.
Final
thoughts.
A few final thoughts before we leave you.
Yeah, things aren't going great for Turin right now.
No, his life hasn't been great up until now, and it's honestly not getting any better.
I mean, he did have some good years, like in Doriath, but overall still pretty lows.
Yeah, I mean, even the good years were due to, his home country being occupied and his dad being missing and his family being sort of slaves.
Always background grief, right?
Yeah. Well, for now.
For now. But,
Big cliffhanger. Yeah.
I think things are already starting to get pretty depressing in his life, but I don't know. Maybe things will be better now that he's homeless, right?
Right. I mean, that solves all problems.
Things
right?
always get better when you become homeless.
Problems are infinitely easier to solve when you're homeless.
I
right?
think I think things are about to turn around.
Yeah, he's
I think
on
things
his
are about
way.
to turn around for Turin.
Things are looking up for
no one's
Turin.
going to be asking him to take out the trash anymore, like do the dishes. He's
No,
out on the-
I bet things are supposed to go really well for him
Yeah.
in this next part.
Well, what about Morwen, guys?
Oh, what about her? I mean, come on.
At least we only had to talk about her in the beginning of the episode. That's how I feel.
You don't like her? I say that Morwen is a strong woman, but a bad mom.
I'd have to agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's not much of a parent.
Yeah, and I don't know how I feel about her character anymore. And all of us had trouble with how she parents Turin,
Right.
and we're on Team Turin as far as it goes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm all for being frank and very explicit in what needs to be said. But like we've said, he is a child.
But with a gentle hand.
With a gentle hand, or
Or at least with a loving hand. It almost feels like there's none of that.
some compassion.
She's so cold.
She's so cold. And it's not to say that Turin's blood parents might be shitty. One of them is just straight up not around, and the other one is cold. But he's not without his parent-like friends, right? So, he has a support system. We've heard from Sador, right?
Oh, yeah, he's a major one.
Yeah, Thingol now, right?
Absolutely. Adopted
Foster daddy.
Yeah, foster dad. Nellis, right? She was a integral part of his growing up.
Oh, yeah.
And then also Beleg, who we'll see continue into the story to be a friend and a confidant.
Yeah, someone that he looks up to.
Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting going forward how Turin's upbringing and parenting plays into how he behaves when presented with grief and problems.
And we're about to get to, spoilers, a lot more grief and problems.
Yes, and we'll have many more great deep sea facts to keep us
Yes.
palate cleansed.
Good. I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, I'm learning a ton about the deep sea and Turin's sad life. But next week we got more Children of Húrin for you. Episode 107. Thanks for listening to KOT Podcast. Please subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts to stay up to date on new episodes, and rate or give us a review wherever you listen to us. That really helps and makes us feel good on the inside. Please also check out our new website, keepontolkien.com. Simply that, keepontolkien.com. Check it out.
Big thank you to all of our patrons on Patreon. You can subscribe on Patreon to not only support us, but also unlock some exclusive content there. So you can check that out at patreon.com/KOT podcast. We also take private one-time donations if that's more your speed. We understand. We're just appreciative of anything that you're willing to share. Thank you so much.
And if you've got a moment, take the time to follow us on social media. You definitely want to get in on our Discord. That's where we do most of our hanging out, posting
yes.
memes, and chatting with viewers and everything.
Our Discord, dare I say, is hopping.
It be hopping sometimes.
It be hopping.
It do.
It occupies me throughout the day.
Oh, yeah.
Fun Lord of the Rings memes, some fun discussions there.
Conversations, current events, questions.
Yeah, talking
that people
about the
have.
show, Rings of Power, that's going on.
Yeah, everybody likes to speculate, and if you were curious, we even have questions channels. You can come and
Questions channels?
come
yeah.
ask us some questions.
We even got one of my favorite threads, honestly, lately is the non-Tolkien nerdery thread, which is where we discuss other nerddoms that we all love, and we've slowly discovered that we have a lot of stuff in common with our community, like horror movies. It's October right now, and we're starting to talk a lot about horror movies on there, which is fun. So check that out. Discord, get into it.
But in addition to Discord, we are also available in other places, of course. You can find us on TikTok at keep_on_Tolkien_podcast. We're on X at KOT Podcast. We're also on Facebook at official Keep On Tolkien. If you want, you can also find us on Instagram at Keep On Tolkien Podcast. And, don't forget to check out our new merch store. I'm going to list out the website. It's sort of a tradition now. It's keep-on-tolkien-podcast.tmail.com. It's a long one, and I don't expect you to remember it. So go to keepontolkien.com.
There you go.
If you want to buy merch, but also it's the easiest place to find all those socials that we just talked about.
Find everything.
Yeah, all that bullshit we just talked about for the past minute and a half, like we do every goddamn episode. All that can be found on keepontolkien.com. So fear not. Keepontolkien.com. Do it today.
Do it today. Buy in the next 15 minutes. No, all right.
Yeah. We should do some shit like that. Okay, well, that's all from us today, guys. I am Danny J.
And I'm Joel N.
I am Trevor D.
And we are, of course,
Keep on Tolkien.
I'm going to do it like Cyrus with his broke-ass jaw. All right, and Tola.
That day will not come again for him.
Not for that, dude.
Nope.
Rest in peace, Brick.
More like pieces.
Ooh, broken upon the rocks.